Now, since her reign as Miss South Africa 2020 ended, Shudufhadzo Musida has added author and swimwear designer to her list of titles and accolades. She recently launched her swimwear range, Imbe, aimed at redefining beauty standards and building women's confidence. She's also released a new children's book titled I Am Shudu, Finding My Voice, Knowing My Truth. The book is a follow-up of her 2021 release, Shudu Finds Her Magic. The book covers the themes of bullying, identity, bravery, forgiveness, displaced families, and the bond of friendships as well. Musida joins us now virtually to chat more about this. Hi to you, Shudu. Thank you very much for joining us here on Newsnight.
Hi, Abigail. Thank you so much for having me.
My absolute pleasure. I think there's such a focus on the Miss South Africa when she is crowned and her reign and her duties and us following that. I rarely get the opportunity to speak to a former Miss South Africa about what really happens after your reign has ended. What's the last 3 years or so been like?
I think after your reign ends, that's when the real work starts. I've always said that Miss South Africa is an incredible platform, but what you do with it and what you do with it after your reign is a real test of how great it can be. You know, when I entered Miss South Africa, honestly, it was for the networks and the people that I know now who, as we know, enable things to come together in one way or the other. And I say that because you cannot do things alone. We cannot work in silos. So I've made sure that my Miss South Africa reign was a culmination of so many relationships, so many ideas, and how possible it is to actually make them come to life. So the last 3 years have just been work. When I was Miss South Africa, I was working. And after being Miss South Africa, I continued to work even harder because now I don't have, the support or the structures of the people at Miss South Africa. Now it's like, a child who's put in the real world for the first time. I'd always known what it was, but it's been beautiful seeing how my dreams are valid and how I can literally do anything that I put my mind to, and how I've not deviated from why I became a South African, the things that I wanted to do. So that's the other importance of making sure that you're authentic, even when you've got a platform like that, because then it's easier to carry on with your mandate even after you were Miss South Africa.
100%. I totally agree with you. Your why is vital. You need to know why you are doing something and why you are on this specific journey. But you have been a very busy lady. You've launched another book after the launch of the one back in 2021. Tell us about this new one.
Yeah. So I Am Shudu, Finding My Voice and Knowing My Strength. There's an incredible coming of age story. I often look at my books as a form of therapy because I get to heal from my past experiences. I was bullied for 7 years, and in that was, I think, a broken inner child who just wanted to feel safe again, who wanted to feel seen and feel heard. And then I read this book by Oprah Winfrey and Dr. Bruce Perry called What Happened to You. And there was a part in the book that felt like it was the one line or the one phrase that had healed me or got me on the journey of what healing truly is. It said that more often than not, we ask ourselves what is wrong with us and never what happened to us. And I Am Shudu is basically me recounting what happened to me, not what is wrong with me, because there's nothing wrong with me. And bullying is a reflection of the bully. But when we are speaking about the bully themselves, it's a conversation that is very structural. We're not only focused on children that are bullying, but starting conversations with all children so they understand that they are seen, that they are heard. It's a book about identity, bravery, courage, the power of friendships, the power of the voice, but most importantly, the power of community, because we can never go anywhere alone. I believe that it takes a village to raise a child, and this book is exactly that. A story that touches on bullying, anti-bullying, mental health education, but also touches on the importance and the power that children have if we give them a seat at the table.
I think relatability is a very important topic here, because often when young girls are watching some of their role models, whether it's on television or seeing them on social media, they might ask themselves, like, how do I connect to this person? How do we relate? And looking at your life, someone could assume that you've had a beautiful life. And I mean, you're this beautiful, intelligent woman who has the world at her feet. You're achieving all of your goals, but you too have had struggles, and you continue to have struggles. And I think it's important to show that side of our lives as well.
Yeah, and I think that's what we are all relational beings, and in how we relate, it's important that we're authentic in how we do it. I mean, there's so many challenges on a daily basis, and I believe that in showing up authentically every time, that's how we begin to shape the world that we want to see. I think there's so many unrealistic standards where you don't really get to know the person that you're looking up to, and I think that's honestly, I think that's the reason why a lot of people don't want to be role models, because it's a lot of pressure. But I think showing up authentically on days where you're not okay. I was doing a panel discussion yesterday, and the first thing I said when I was asking the audience how they are, I was like, I'm not okay today. You know, I'm very tired. And once we begin to answer our once we begin to check in and answer truthfully about those little things, it shapes a new world where it is okay to not be okay. And on those days where you're not okay, it doesn't mean that you're having a bad life. It's just merely a bad day, you know? So the authenticity in how you show up is really, really important. And I try my best to be that. I'm not perfect. Definitely have not had a perfect life, but I'm so grateful for how I've used the platform that I have to show up as authentically as I can within reason.
And I think that's why you gravitate towards people so much, because you are open to showing your vulnerable side, and you don't shy away from vulnerability. So that is commendable. But I want to shift gears and talk about this beautiful swimwear range that you've created that sort of praises and encourages African women to embrace the bodies that we have. Talk to us about it.
So Imbe is, when I was 10 years old, I told myself that my first child, I would name my first child Imbe, Imbe Rani. And I didn't know that my first child would come in a form of a business. So Imbe is short for Imbe Rani, which means to sing or to praise rather than Chivenda. And the reason why me and my business partner, Titi Nteta and Colleen Murray founded this business was because of the conversations that we had about our self-image and how we wanted to feel in swimwear, and how most of the swimwear that we find around us doesn't really represent the bodies that we have, you know, doesn't really account for the insecurities that we may have. So we wanted to create a body positive brand that was created through conversations with women, by women, a brand for women, by women. And that's how Imbe came about. And with each attention to detail, the fabric, how it's locally made. There aren't a lot of CMTs in South Africa that actually create swimwear. So it was really, really important to create a swimwear that takes into account also the factory where we make it. You know, like it's a factory that is, I think, like 98% women in Cape Town, but also the fabric that we use is through the conversations that we've had with women. And that's how Imbe came about. And now we are retailing as well at Woolworths for a limited time. That's in Gateway, VNA, Canal Walk, Midland, and Sandton City. And it's been beautiful to make sure that even the partners that we have are aligned with that vision that we have about how we see women and how women want to feel about themselves.
Beautiful. Well, it's almost December holiday, so it's the perfect time to stock up on our swimwear, isn't it? But Shudu, I want to touch on something. I want to touch on something that's really close to your heart, or something that seems to be really close to your heart. When you represented us at Miss World, your Beauty with a Purpose was very much focused on mental health, and it's so interesting to see that you are still at the forefront of conversations when it comes to mental health and the importance of mental health. Why is this still something that's so close to your heart?
I think when I spoke about mental health on the night I was crowned, it was something that was very personal to me. I had done a lot of work, charity work, through my foundation in Limpopo. And then you get to realize that the one way we get to begin to change narratives is through the mind. Because then I believe that mental health is the foundation of all the sustainable development goals. And in order for us to reach any of them, it's really important to prioritize mental health as the powerhouse that it is, and how we can reframe how we look at our societies and how we begin to change the narratives. And that's the reason I started to focus on it, because I had my own personal experience where once I started checking in and once I started taking care of my mental health, I saw how my life changed. I saw how my view of the world also changed. And it was so important for me to make sure that I show up authentically in that way. I remember I was speaking to my friend Obakeng, and I was like, educational and economic empowerment, which is the foundation of the work that I do and the studies that I've undergone. And mental health just was at the very center of it. When we think food insecurity, when we think children going to school without eating, that's like another thing that contributes to one's mental health and empowerment. So post Miss South Africa, during Miss South Africa, post Miss South Africa, it's something that's become a second nature to me, because I'm not only speaking for a lot of people who want to feel seen, who want to feel heard, but I'm also speaking for myself. When I'm saying prioritize mental health, I'm saying prioritize my mental health, you know. Obviously we did Mindful Mondays, which was hugely successful with over 1 million viewers, but I still get people walking up to me saying, I lost my job during COVID. I was retrenched for a year, didn't get a salary for a year. I was extremely depressed, but it was that show and the education around it, because people fear what they don't know, that made me feel like I'm not alone. And thank you for that. And it's been 2 years. So you get to see how it's those conversations that matter. We tend to want to hold on or grab onto the big conversations, when it's the smaller ones, quote unquote, that really matter, where you're just asking someone how they are and also reassuring them that it's okay if they're not okay, and create a safe space where people can thrive, not just survive.
100%. Shudu, thank you very much for your time. Thank you for sharing of your story. We really enjoyed chatting to you tonight, and I wish you all the best in all of your endeavors.